March 7, 2022, a young woman decided to end things with her boyfriend whom she had been dating for the past 8 months. She had decided that she had had enough of his lies and infidelity. And so she decided to go to his house to return a pair of shoes he had bought for her. For Ketora Echelon, returning the shoes was a symbolic end of the relationship. But this decision turned out to be tragic. Returning the shoes would be the last thing she ever did on Earth. This is the story of Ketora Echelon and how a simple act turned violent, ending in her death. Ketora was born in April 1993 in the bustling city of Henderson, Nevada, just 16 miles from Las Vegas. Although she grew up in Henderson, Ketora lived between multiple addresses in the Las Vegas area. This included Boulder Fall Street in Henderson and Civic Center Drive in North Las Vegas. As such, she learned how to thrive in different communities. Perhaps this was what built her love for traveling and exploring with friends and family. Some have described her as a radiant, elegant, and admirable person, while others said Ketora was captivating and had the ability to inspire others. Unlike some people who sat around waiting for life to happen to them, Ketora took charge of her life. She made things happen. Her determination and focus helped her to achieve her goals and dreams. Her favorite words were, "Confidence has no completion." According to her Instagram bio, Ketora described herself as a woman of fashion. Her deep love and passion for fashion pushed her into the fashion industry. Ketora was smart enough to take advantage of Henderson's proximity to Las Vegas. She knew that Las Vegas held numerous opportunities, especially for someone who was willing to work hard in the fashion industry. At first, Ketora started off modeling for different brands. While it is widely known that the fashion industry is difficult to break into, Ketora worked hard to carve a niche for herself. With modeling, Ketora was able to showcase not just her physical beauty, but also her ability to connect with people. Ketora did not just wear the clothes; with her expressions and movements, she told a story of confidence and beauty which spoke to young women that followed her. Ketora brought life to her clothings. Her approach to modeling went beyond standing in front of a camera and showcasing fashion trends. Ketora took advantage of her modeling career to learn and understand the business of fashion. She built and cultivated relationships within the industry and created a network that she would later take advantage of. Those who knew Ketora, especially at work, spoke of her ability to spot and maximize opportunities. While there were already thousands of online fashion stores, Ketora decided to take advantage of her social media page and her modeling connections to build her own online store. She wasn't content with just showcasing other people's styles. She wanted to bring out her own style. This was how her online boutique Ketora Echelon was born. Ketora Echelon was the result of years of careful observation and planning. Like with modeling, she didn't just sell clothes, she sold confidence. Ketora used her boutique to showcase her style, and her experience in the modeling world helped her to build her business. She sold the latest fashions that met the fashion needs of her customers. Ketora was able to build a life that other young models dreamed of. She did not just dream it, she made it a reality. Ketora Echelon served as a testament to her entrepreneurial spirit and an inspiration to other fashion enthusiasts in the community and beyond. But there was something that made Ketora stand out. This was her innovative approach to fashion retail. She made good use of every business strategy she had gathered from her business clients in the modeling world. Ketora understood that business, regardless of whatever industry, required a good understanding of customer service, market trends, and basic business fundamentals. With her knowledge of the business world, Ketora built Ketora Echelon into a boutique known for its carefully curated pieces that appealed to everyone that visited her shop. She leveraged her connections in the modeling world to showcase unique styles and granted access for her customers to acquire them. The amazing thing was that at the age of 28, Ketora had been able to establish herself in 2 competitive fields. Her dream was to build a lasting legacy in the world of fashion. With her determination and focus, there was no doubt that she would have achieved her dream. But sadly, it was not to be. In 2021, Ketora met someone that swept her off her feet. Marvin was a 31-year-old resident of Las Vegas. At first, it felt like Ketora's life was complete. She had 2 flourishing careers and a lover who meant everything to her. This was everything that every young woman wished for. Although Ketora was quite busy managing her boutique and going for photo shoots, she made sure to spend quality time with her new beau. Marvin appeared to be supportive of her career and ambitions. He showed interest in both her modeling career and her business ventures. To anyone watching from the outside, everything was going smoothly. And it was, until it wasn't. As weeks went on, Ketora began to see Marvin as someone who she could rely on. The way he presented himself made her feel he was the kind of man that could complement her ambition and lifestyle. In the course of the relationship, Marvin would meet up with Ketora, showering her with gifts and attention. Her friends reported how Marvin would show up at work, bringing gifts and making grand gestures. To them and Ketora, it was romantic, and perhaps her friends wished that they too would experience something similar. But the romantic gestures, the gifts, and the attention was all part of Marvin's plan to control Ketora. As months went by, Ketora began to notice that Marvin had become controlling and possessive. Ketora had never been one to depend completely on a man, so she tried her best to maintain her independence, focusing on making her money and building her careers. Ketora tried to ignore these signs as they were not so obvious. Perhaps she felt she was overthinking it, but as the days went by, Marvin became increasingly possessive and controlling. He wanted to dictate every aspect of the relationship. It was as if her opinions and thoughts didn't matter anymore. While this was bad in itself, the worst was yet to come. It wasn't until some months later that Ketora learned a devastating truth that would set her on a path of no return. Ketora began to notice little inconsistencies in Marvin's schedules. There were times he would just disappear without any reasonable explanations. And then sometimes he received strange calls at odd hours. Ketora began to feel that something was off. With the help of her sisters and friends, she uncovered the reason for her lover's strange behavior. Marvin Simmons, the man she felt she could rely on, was in a relationship with someone else. This was not just casual dating. He had 2 kids with the other woman and even shared a home with them. Imagine how Ketora felt when she uncovered the truth. It was bad enough that he had a baby mama, but deciding to omit that fact from Ketora at the beginning of the relationship was worse. Marvin's took away Ketora's choice in the matter. This was typical of the controlling behavior he exhibited in their relationship. Marvin wanted to have it both ways. He was in a full relationship with his baby mama and also in relationship with Ketora. Perhaps he thought that he would be able to separate both worlds and keep Ketora from knowing the truth. The presence of the children who lived together with their mother at Jamestown Square Avenue in Las Vegas further complicated the issue for Ketora. Unknowingly, and through Marvin's deception, she had become the other woman, which wasn't a life she envisioned for herself. So, she made a decision. The weekend before her death, Ketora traveled to Miami with Marvin's on a getaway trip. While it's not exactly clear what happened on that trip, we can only speculate that Ketora unveiled the truth that she had discovered to Marvin's. She probably poured her out and decided to end things with him. Both went their separate ways. Ketora should have moved on and refused to look back, but for some reason she decided to pay a visit to Marvin's home at Jameson Avenue. If only she had known that visit would end up taking her life. On the evening of March 7th, 2022, Ketora and her 2 sisters jumped into her car and drove down to Jameson Avenue. Ketora went with her sisters for moral support and strength to end an 8-month relationship that was based on lies. Ketora planned to return a pair of shoes that Marvin had bought her. Returning the shoes was meant to be a final gesture and a way of closing that chapter of her life. While the purpose of her visit was to return a new pair of shoes that Marvin had bought her, she also had an ulterior motive in mind. Ketora decided to visit his house on a cool evening when she knew she would meet Marvin and perhaps his baby mama. Perhaps she wanted to confront and expose Marvin in the presence of his baby mama. Ketora probably thought that she was doing a fellow sister a favor. Her sisters supported her decision, and that was why they accompanied her. They knew that situations like this were critical and oftentimes could lead to violence. So it wasn't just about providing moral support, but also protection in case the situation escalated. However, Ketora and her sisters had no way that a simple exchange would result in something fatal. But even though they couldn't stop what had happened, their presence at the scene of the crime proved to be important in the trial of Marvin Simmons. They provided a detailed account of the events that happened on March 7, 2022. When Ketora and her sister drove into Marvin's garage, it became obvious to them that Marvin's was inside with his baby mama and their 2 kids. Marvin quickly noted that Ketora was outside, and he sent her a text telling her to leave because his baby mama was at home. Obviously, his baby mama wasn't aware that he had a relationship with Ketora, and he didn't want her to know. However, Ketora refused and remained adamant on seeing him. According to Ketora's sisters, Marvin angrily opened the garage doors, and Ketora approached him. Marvin confronted her, and both of them began to argue. The argument escalated until Marvin suddenly pushed Ketora. Ketora realized that things had begun to go too far, so she began to walk back to her car where her sisters were waiting. The garage door began to close as Ketora walked towards her car. But then, in a blink of an eye, the door opened again and Mavens began to fire. One of the bullets hit Ketora in the chest. Ketora was immediately transported to University Medical Center for treatment. However, it was too late. The gunshot wound was fatal, and she was pronounced dead. Moments after the gunshots erupted, the entire neighborhood of Jameson Avenue erupted in chaos. Inside the car, Ketora's sisters were frozen in shock at how the situation turned out. Before their very eyes, their sister, who had been brimming with life and energy just moments ago, had been gunned down. Inside Marvin's home, his baby mama and 2 kids tried to make sense of what had just happened. Although they didn't see who had been shot, they heard the gunshots. Meanwhile, someone called 911 and first responders arrived at the scene. As for Marvin himself, his actions seemed to catch up with him. He immediately fled into someone's home when the police arrived, but he surrendered a short time later and was taken to custody. While in custody, Marvin Simmons told the police a different version of what actually happened. According to his report, Ketora attempted to stop him from closing the garage door and became aggressive. He said he was scared for his family's safety when he saw other people in her car. He then fired 7 rounds towards the car as Ketora walked away. But his reports held no water. How could Ketora and her sisters be a threat to him and his family? Besides, his baby mama and his 2 kids were inside, and from all indications, Ketora didn't even get to meet them. After much confrontation, Marvin admitted that he did not observe Ketora to have any weapons and that she was small in stature, and he did not perceive her as a threat to him. The police found the .40 caliber Smith & Wesson that had ended Ketora's life. The Las Vegas Police Department classified the case as a domestic violence homicide. Marvin was taken into custody and transported to Clark County Detention Center, facing charges of open murder and shooting a gun into an occupied vehicle. Marvin's violent action ended the life of a promising young woman and brought the pain of loss to her family and friends. He cut short Ketora's budding modeling career and her entrepreneurial spirit. Sadly, Ketora's story is one among the thousands of domestic violence cases in the U.S. According to statistics, Nevada, for instance, ranks among the top states for domestic violence fatalities, with Las Vegas reporting over 35,000 domestic violence annually. Specifically, as of 2024, it ranks second in the U.S., and it is in the top 10 states with the highest female homicide rates. The interesting thing is that 75% of the cases in Las Vegas occurred when the relationship was about to end. This was exactly what happened in Ketora's case. Her desire to end a relationship based on lies and infidelity ended up ending her life. The intersection of infidelity and violence reveals a disturbing pattern in relationships. In the U.S., recent studies show that about 20 to 25% of married individuals engage in infidelity. If this is the number for married people, imagine how high it would be for those that are just dating. Couples face several challenges in relationships and marriage, but instead of communicating or even breaking things off, some prefer to look outside. However, this often leads to violence. In Las Vegas, law enforcement data reveals that in the past 5 years, domestic violence calls involving situations with multiple romance partners have doubled. And like in Ketora's case, the violence occurred when they tried to end the relationship. According to studies from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the most dangerous time in an abusive relationship is when the victims try to leave. Relationship experts such as Dr. Deborah Gill, a leading researcher in domestic violence, have explained that people who maintain concurrent relationships often display heightened possessive tendencies, viewing their partners as properties rather than people. This possessiveness usually manifests subtly, including excessive gifts and frequent visits to the victims' workplaces. This is the exact thing that happened between Marvin and Ketora. He gave her gifts and frequently paid visits to her workplace. To Ketora and her friends, he was simply being romantic. But the truth was far from that. Marvin was simply displaying his possessive tendencies. According to relationship experts, people like Marvin more often than not struggle with insecurities. Their desire to maintain and control multiple relationships stems from a fear of abandonment or loss of control. In the case of Marvin, he wasn't trying to break things off with his baby mama and focus only on Ketora. He clearly wanted to maintain both relationships, but Ketora wasn't ready for that. She didn't want to be the other girl, so she decided to break things off, and returning that pair of shoes was a symbol that things were over. But she made a mistake. Or perhaps she simply didn't know that her ex-lover had violent tendencies. Ketora's presence at Marvin's home where his baby mama was present triggered Marvin. Not only was she there to return the shoes, but her presence would clearly reveal the truth that he had clearly wanted to hide. As the relationship expert said, Ketora's presence made him realize that he has lost control of both situations. We do not know what exactly was going on in his mind. Perhaps he didn't want to kill Ketora. Maybe he just wanted to scare her. But the fact is that he had the opportunity to let her go. She was already walking away after he pushed her and was inside her car about to drive away before he brought out his gun and started shooting. Not once or twice, but 7 times, and one of those bullets hit Ketora's chest, leaving a fatal wound. For us, this was likely a result of the control issues he had. Thankfully, justice has been served. In addition to this, studies show that professional women, especially those in public-facing careers like Ketora, often face unique challenges when it comes to dealing with domestic violence. Usually, they are less likely to report early warning signs, often due to concerns about public perception and the potential impact on their business. But Ketora's story highlights the importance of knowing where to turn to for help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline operates 24/7, providing confidential support in multiple languages. In Las Vegas, for instance, Safe Nest offers emergency shelter, counseling, and advocacy services for those facing domestic violence. Specialized resources also exist for professional and entrepreneurial women. These resources exist through organizations that understand the unique challenges of balancing personal safety and business operations. Although Ketora is gone, her story is a lesson to anyone out there facing a similar situation. Women are usually the most vulnerable in such situations, so if you or anyone out there is facing a similar situation, please do not hesitate to reach out to those around you. There are support systems everywhere. You need only to gather courage to seek help. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up, drop a comment, and subscribe to our channel so that you can get more videos like this.